Next up, we got the scary truth about Lamar Jackson. Now, Lamar Jackson, I feel like right now is top 5 in the league. All right, maybe even top 3, top 2, top 1. Let me know. Let me know in the comments. Do y'all agree? Where do y'all rank Lamar Jackson right now of today? All right, now, Pat my homies. That's his greatest enemy right now. His greatest nemesis right now is Pat my homies. Can he beat Pat my homies? We don't know. We do not know. This year should be the year to really test and see. I mean, last year was the year as well, but we're not gonna talk about last year. Let's just talk about this year. Derrick Henry on the team now. A lot of big changes. Can the Ravens actually pull through? Because, I mean, they honestly a powerhouse, bro. You know what I mean? And if y'all keep doing this every year and y'all don't go to Super Bowl, at this point, we might as well start calling y'all the Cowboys. Okay? I'm sorry. We gotta be honest, bro. We gotta be honest. Same with the 49ers. Y'all not the only ones. You know what I mean? But, hit the like button, hit that sub button.
Lamar Jackson is becoming the best dual-threat quarterback the NFL has ever seen. But that statement is something that he had to fight for his whole life. From growing up in poverty to being disrespected everywhere he went to that moment when he was 8 years young that changed him forever. Lamar climbed from the absolute bottom to a sprint to the title of the best dual-threat quarterback ever. Let's find out the scary truth that caused the two-time MVP to become a nightmare for his critics. Lamar Demetrius Jackson Jr. was born on January 7th, 1997 in Pompano Beach, Florida, to Felicia Jones and Lamar Jackson Sr. Growing up in an incredibly poor section of Florida, Lamar found football as a way to deal with the economic stress his family faced on a daily basis. He got into the game by playing in the backyard with his dad and his 3 siblings, and when it was time to sign up for Pee Wee football, Lamar would light it up as he won MVP every single year, but then tragedy struck. His dad would suddenly pass away from a heart attack when Lamar was just 8 years old. And to make matters worse, his grandma would pass away on the same day. This would leave Lamar and his siblings to be raised by their mom, who did everything she could to make sure that they had food on the table and clothes on their back. While she was doing this, she was also heavily involved in her kids' athletic endeavors, and she constantly pushed Lamar to be better. Lamar would later tell the Players Tribune, saying, quote, "When I was young, the best coach I've ever had was my first one, Mom. And I'm not saying that just because she looked out for me and encouraged me to pursue football and all that stuff. I mean, she actually made me grind to get better." And when he got to high school, Lamar would light up the gridiron with his ability to throw and run the ball as a quarterback. His video game-like ability to make defenders
Lamar Jackson played one position his whole life. Usually players don't play the position they played when they was kids. Like a lot of players in the NFL, they might have been quarterbacks. They're a cornerback, but they used to play quarterback. Same with somebody who's a linebacker in the NFL, he might play running back. You know what I mean? Receivers, all these players, only like a couple players who actually play one position. That's actually crazy, Lamar Jackson. Wow.
To throw and run the ball as a quarterback.
I feel like honestly that's even better. If you play one position, that shows how goated you are. To be honest.
Video game-like ability to make defenders miss and throw bombs over the tops of defenses would make him a social media sensation, including this viral clip of him scrambling in the pocket and hitting a filthy back as he walks into the end zone. Every Power 5 scout was watching Lamar as he threw for 2,263 passing yards, 31 touchdowns, and put up a 102.7 quarterback rating, while also rushing for 1,624 yards and 22 touchdowns in his last 2 high school seasons. But despite this, Lamar would only be a 3-star prospect coming out of high school, since a lot of college.
Wait, how tall is Lamar Jackson? Is he like 6 foot? Does it say right here? I think he's 6'3". 6'3". I mean, I guess that's kind of, as a quarterback, I feel like to be an effective quarterback, you have to be tall. Or just, you know, because first of all, the linemen, like average linemen are like 6'5" to like 6'7". So if you 5'10", 6 foot, bro, you like a little pipsqueak back there. You can't see nothing. You know what I mean? So that's already number one. But 6'3", I feel like it's maybe, I don't know. I feel like it's a decent size, though.
Lamar would only be a 3-star prospect coming out of high school, since a lot of college scouts believed that his passing ability wouldn't be able to transfer to the next level. In fact, a lot of schools wanted him to switch positions to wide receiver or even defensive back due to his acceleration and speed. However, there was one school that wanted him to be a quarterback, and that was Louisville. When he got to college, Lamar was out to prove to the world that he was meant to play quarterback, and during his freshman season, he would get a chance to. He would start in 8 of the Cardinals' 12 games, and he threw for 1,840 yards, 12 touchdowns, while running for 960 yards and 11 touchdowns. It's rare for a 3-star quarterback to start his freshman year at a Power 5 school, but Jackson took the opportunity and made the most of it. Going into his sophomore year, all eyes were on him to see what he could do for the full season. And
what? Man, Lamar Jackson. He out here hurdling?
Scored 8 touchdowns in the first half against Charlotte in week 1.
Whoa. Once again, I ain't know he had this in him. Now we know, you know what I mean? We know he athletic. But hurdling, that's another, wow.
The opportunity.
Especially as a quarterback. Like, bro, anything, like, even just the quarterback running. The quarterback running is already, like, because quarterbacks usually don't do that. So now, not only is he running, scoring touchdowns, juking everybody, now he's jumping over people. Bro, what is this? What is this?
Made the most of it. Going into his sophomore year, all eyes were on him to see what he could do in his first full season. And well, once again, Jackson became a social media sensation when he scored 8 touchdowns in the first half against Charlotte in week 1. Jackson would scored 8 touchdowns. Jackson became a social media
Wait, how come bro? We hear so much information about Lamar Jackson I've never heard before.
And well,
wait a minute.
Once again, Jackson became a social media sensation when he scored 8 touchdowns in the first half against Charlotte in week 1.
8 touchdowns?
Jackson would go on a tear, throwing for 3,543 passing yards and 30 touchdowns, while also running for 1,571 yards and getting 21 rushing touchdowns his sophomore year. If you do the math, that's over 5,000 total yards and 50 touchdowns. And with the incredible numbers, Lamar took home the Heisman, the most prestigious award in college football. Jackson had shown those college scouts that his passing abilities did in fact transfer to the next level. And with his junior year approaching, the national spotlight on him was brighter than ever, and Lamar was prepared for it. He threw for 3,660 yards, ran for 1,601 yards, and scored 45 total touchdowns, and he was named the Men's ACC Player of the Year across all sports. Despite the 2 legendary college seasons, Lamar couldn't escape the narrative that his passing abilities wouldn't be able to develop, and he wouldn't turn out to be anything more than a gadget player at the next level. After his junior year, Lamar figured that he had already achieved all that he could achieve in college and decided to declare for the NFL draft, and he would
what year was he in?
The next level. After his junior year.
Wow. Okay. Dang. Okay.
Lamar figured that he had already achieved all that he could achieve in college and decided to declare for the NFL draft, and he would end up being requested by NFL scouts to try out with the receivers and not the quarterback. Nobody in the NFL believed that he could become a pocket passer, and that's why he fell on draft day. And while Lamar was free falling down the draft board, his mom was with him through the entire thing. But eventually, the Ravens would give him a call. Just like Louisville, Baltimore saw something in Lamar and decided to trade up for him and selected him with the 32nd pick in the 2018 NFL Draft. With an aging Joe Flacco, the Ravens saw Jackson as a project to develop behind Flacco to eventually step into the starting role a few years down the line when he was ready. Except that time would come a lot sooner as Joe Flacco got hurt in week 10 versus Pittsburgh. The Cincinnati Bengals were up next for the Ravens, and their fans didn't think that Jackson would be able to win the game for them since he only had 11.
Let me know in the comments. How many of y'all true fans? All right, because first things first. When it comes to people talking about, oh yeah, I'm a fan of this team, I'm a fan of this team. A lot of y'all be talking about, yeah, I'm such a diehard fan. But if you don't have more than 5 years of supporting your team, I don't think I don't think you're really a true fan, bro. You know what I mean? Now, some people are young, so it's like the time thing. If you're like older, if you're like 25 to 30, if you don't have at least 10 years supporting the team, then you're not a true fan, bro. You know what I mean? But if you're like younger, because I do have a younger audience, they like, I think my average person that watched me probably like 16, 14. So basically your whole life, if you haven't been supporting the team your whole life, you're not a true fan. No cap, bro. No cap. So let me know in the comments. Do y'all remember, for all the true fans, 5 to 10 plus years, do y'all remember when Lamar Jackson first came to the Ravens? And what was your thoughts? Like, did you have faith in Lamar? Did you think he was gonna sell?
The Ravens and their fans
Let
didn't
me
think
know.
that Jackson would be able to win the game for them since he only had 11 weeks to get his feet wet in the NFL. But with the confidence his mom installed in him, Lamar won the game and threw for 150 yards and ran for 117 more. He would then never look back as he proceeded to get 6 more wins in the Ravens' final 7 games. And despite only playing in 7 games, he led the league in quarterback rushing with 653 yards. The Ravens were 10-6 and secured themselves a playoff matchup with the Chargers in the wild card round. At just 21 years old, Jackson became the youngest player ever to start a playoff game, but unfortunately, he would end up losing the game, and the critics of Lamar question if he could win when it matters. Now, with the full offseason for the Ravens to design their system around Lamar, Jackson would go out with something to prove, and in week 1 versus the Dolphins, he became the youngest player ever to have a perfect passer rating as he threw for 324 yards and 5 touchdowns. The history books would continue to get smashed as he became the first player in league history to throw for 250 yards and rush for 120 yards in a game in week 2 versus Arizona. He was unstoppable, and Lamar led the Ravens to a 14-2 record, finished with 3,000 passing yards, 1,000 rushing yards, and scored a combined 43 touchdowns. And he also led the league in touchdown passes and quarterback rating and broke the NFL record for most rushing yards by quarterback. The Ravens were the Goliath heading into a playoff matchup against the Tennessee Titans, and Lamar balled out as he threw for 365 passing yards and ran for 143 more, and became the first player to throw for 300 and rush for 100 in a playoff game. Sadly, the Ravens would fall short, and the Titans secured the massive upset, and the critics continued to lay the playoff choker label on Jackson. After the season, Lamar...
Dang, so this is the first time it happened? Because I think some people saying, no, we can't even say Lamar Jackson choked last year because he didn't. Lamar Jackson was the only person doing stuff. I actually do remember now. Remember, Lamar Jackson was throwing passes to himself. His team was so trash. His receivers were so trash. He was throwing passes to himself, bro. Okay? If this was the NBA, he'd be traveling. I don't know how that's not like... And they actually look that up. Like, throwing a pass to yourself, that should be some type of a rule. He making up new rules, bro. The Lamar Jackson rule. So, I don't think he choked last year.
Ravens would fall short, and the Titans secured the massive
upset. I do be hearing that, though. People do be saying that he's a choker. People do say that. So, I don't know, yo.
Sadly, the Ravens would fall short, and the Titans secured the massive upset, and the critics continued to lay the playoff choker label on Jackson. After the season, Lamar became the second player ever to unanimously win the MVP, and the second youngest player to ever win the award. Now going into year 3, everyone expected Lamar to shut up the critics and to have even a better year than his sophomore MVP season, but these were unreasonable goals since NFL teams now had a full season's worth of film on Lamar, and they were able to game plan around him to try and stop his talent. His numbers dropped a bit as he threw for 2,757 yards and ran for 1,005 more and scored 33 combined touchdowns, and he led the Ravens to 11-5 record and another playoff berth. Lamar would become the first quarterback to have multiple 1,000-yard rushing seasons in just his first 2 years as a starter. The Ravens had opportunity for revenge.
Hold on, let me look now.
In just his first 2 years as a starter, the Ravens.
Okay, it look like he might be at the same height, or they might be like a little bit taller than him. So like I said, they probably like 6'3", 6'4", 6'5". You know what I mean? That's like the average
rushing seasons in just his first 2 years
lineman
as a starter. The Ravens had opportunity for revenge in the playoffs as they had a date with the Tennessee Titans in the wild card, and Jackson would be looking for blood as he threw for 179 yards and ran for 136 in a win. And Lamar would secure his first career playoff win, and it seemed like this would be the year that Jackson would get over the hump and win a championship. And then disaster struck. Lamar would exit the divisional playoff versus the Bills with a concussion, and the Ravens would suffer a brutal end to their season, the 17-3 defeat.
About to be a crazy
the injury woes would continue to haunt Jackson going into his 4th season, and he was on track to win another MVP with 3,643 total yards and 18 touchdowns in just the first 11 games before he would be knocked out with an ankle injury in week 12. And once again in year 5, an injury would end Lamar's season short as he had 3,028 yards and 20 touchdowns in the first 11 games before again getting knocked out in the game in week 12 versus the Broncos with a knee injury. The Ravens would eventually lose to the Bengals in the wild card round without Lamar Jackson, and the critics had plenty of ammunition to question Jackson's legitimacy as a long-term starter, but Baltimore saw through all of these questions as they signed Lamar to a long-term extension, and going into year 6, Jackson would prove that the Ravens made the right decision. He would end up throwing for 3,678 yards, rushing for 821 more, and scoring 29 total touchdowns and leading the Ravens.
Now I gotta see, cause he 3,000 passing yards. Now we gotta see some other quarterbacks. Let's look up see Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes. Or no, let's see Josh Allen actually. Let's try Josh. Josh Allen 2023 stats. How much did he have? 4,000. Dang. Wow. Okay. Pat Mahomes had 4,000 as well. Okay, so I'm thinking 3,000 is like the top, but I think it's probably like top three in the league, something like that, which is still amazing.
13-3 record. After a demolition of the Houston Texans in the divisional round, a game in which Jackson had 252 combined yards and 4 combined touchdowns, Lamar would make his first AFC title game appearance, and he started the game flying and kept the Ravens in it versus the Kansas City Chiefs, but the Chiefs defense would prove too much, and Patrick Mahomes would make another Super Bowl. Then after the season, Lamar was named NFL MVP for the second time in controversial fashion, as the NFL analysts said that he didn't deserve it since he couldn't win in the playoffs and he had mediocre regular season numbers. But if there's one thing Lamar has been consistently good at, is proving everyone wrong when people are counting him out, and that's incredibly scary for the rest of the league. You know what's also scary? Missing an upload. So go ahead and subscribe and turn on the bell, do all that so that doesn't happen. Anyways, let's get back to the story. Lamar is terrifying to game plan for, and in just 5 seasons as a full-time starter, he's already 4th on the all-time quarterback rushing yards list, and needs just
y'all can see. Okay.
900 more to become the greatest rushing quarterback of all time and to surpass Michael Vick. Jackson is already beating Vick in completion percentage, passing yards.
It's crazy how I haven't seen nobody talk about this though, or people have been talking about it. I don't know. I haven't seen no videos of people saying Lamar Jackson is the next Vick. I mean, I guess it's kind of self-explanatory, but people still say it though. Even if it is self-explanatory, people will still talk about it. So, I don't know. But let's just see. I wanted to see a comparison between these two. It's awesome.
Jackson is already beating Vick in completion percentage, passing yards per game, quarterback rating, and he has twice the All-Pro nominations and MVPs than Vick does.
Okay.
He deserves to be in the conversation for the greatest dual-threat quarterback of all time. And he'll take that title away from Vick if he puts up another MVP season in year number 7. It's not just Vick either. Lamar has surpassed other all-time great dual-threat quarterbacks like Cam Newton, who even went on to say that, quote, Lamar is the greatest dual threat in NFL history, and the numbers back it up, as Lamar would need just 400 rushing yards this season to pass Newton's career mark. Just like Cam recently said, the scary truth about Lamar Jackson is that his greatness is inevitable, and he deserves to be respected as a generational talent just like Mahomes is, because when you come from nothing, there's no limit on what you can do. Speaking of coming from nothing, one man who came from a grocery store but rose to the top of the NFL mountain is Kurt Warner. Click here if you'd like to know more about his incredible story.
Oh, yeah, actually, I like this. I like Gridiron. One Come on, bro. Get him to 10K, yo. Please get this man a 10K, yo. Give him the 10K. Everybody hit that sub button. I love y'all. Oh, yeah.